We got Dr. Mary Talley Bowden in the house. Yeah. I say that right?
You got it right, yes.
You were one of the first doctors to push back against the dogma everybody else was pushing about how to treat COVID.
Yeah, I never imagined that. I see a lot of respiratory tract infections, and when people came to see me, I treated them. I did what I thought I was supposed to do, and then I started using monoclonal antibodies, and those worked wonderfully. I could get as many doses as I wanted, and then the government took over distribution of monoclonal antibodies, so they became harder and harder to get, and then they just completely shut them down. And this was all trying to get everybody to get the shot. They were very upset that people weren't getting these shots. They attacked ivermectin. The FDA went after ivermectin. Then they put out that horse tweet.
That's the same time they took Joe Rogan and made him look like he was lime green.
Yep. And I just started speaking out mostly about mandates. I mean, that's what got me in trouble.
I would think like the medical profession would be not as corrupt as it sounds it is.
And I didn't realize it either. I assumed the FDA was ethical and the government was ethical. And the pandemic really exposed all that. I was seeing all these COVID patients. I was seeing that these shots weren't working. The vaccinated outnumbered the unvaccinated, and that they were just as sick, if not sicker. And so I had a handful of people come to me who just would have normally gone to the hospital, and we'd give them high-dose ivermectin, high-dose IV steroids, antibiotics, high-dose vitamin C.
How many of those patients that died do you think that treatment would have prevented them from dying?
We estimate about 80-85% of people could have been saved.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to episode 68. We got Dr. Mary Talley Bowden in the house. Yeah. I say that right?
You got it right, yes.
So a lot of people mispronounce your name sometimes?
Oh, yeah, all the time, yeah.
For the love of God, I don't know why people take Hodge and they say Hodgie.
Oh,
they're
that's
Hodgetwins.
No, I've never heard that. That seems...
Yeah, I'd be like, what did you call me? Hodgetwins? It was overseas, yeah. But so you were one of the first doctors to push back against the dogma everybody else was pushing about how to treat COVID. What was that like?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I never imagined that. I have a solo practice, very quiet in Houston. And I'm ear, nose, and throat. And so I see a lot of respiratory tract infections. And when people came to see me, I treated them. I did what I thought I was supposed to do. And at first I started with hydroxychloroquine, but then Trump said it was the best thing ever.
That's a kiss of death right there.
Exactly. A week later, I kid you not, Texas State Board of Pharmacy shut us down. We were not allowed to prescribe hydroxychloroquine or azithromycin. We couldn't even prescribe a Z-Pack for COVID.
Simply because Trump?
Because of, they didn't admit that, but the timing was pretty right. And so I kind of put that on the back burner, and then I started using monoclonal antibodies, and those worked wonderfully. I could get as many doses as I wanted. I would just contact the manufacturer, and they showed up at my office the next day, and things were really good. And then the government took over distribution of monoclonal antibodies, so they became harder and harder to get, and then they just completely shut them down. And and this was all trying to get everybody to get the shot, because you look at the timing of everything. As soon as Biden mandated the shots, they shut down monoclonal antibodies completely, and then I started using ivermectin, and that's when things got difficult.
Well, why can't you take the antibodies and get the vaccine? Why has it just got to be the vaccine?
Well, there's, first, if you're going to do an emergency use authorization, you can't have something that works better.
Or competitor.
Right. And then I just think it was strategic, right? People were not getting the COVID shots because they had a treatment option, right? If you can get treated, and monoclonal antibodies were a little bit new, but they were safe. I will say that. Like, I didn't have any issues with them in terms of, like, the COVID shots. And there was also a rule that if you got monoclonal antibodies, you had to wait 3 months to get the shot. So people are using that as an excuse, like a stall tactic. So they couldn't have that. They were very upset that people weren't getting these shots, and that's where they attacked ivermectin. The FDA went after ivermectin. So in March of 2021, they issued a statement on their website saying, doctors, you can't use ivermectin to treat COVID, and they told people not to do it. And that wasn't working, so then they put out that horse tweet.
Horse dewormer.
Yes.
That's the same time they took Joe Rogan and made him look like he was lime green.
Yeah, it was late August, early September, and the horse tweet went viral. And I mean, it had dire consequences.
It was all over late night talk shows. It was everywhere. People was making fun of Republicans for taking horse dewormer.
Exactly. Well, and that's still going on. Literally, last week, Vanity Fair ran an article on MAHA and Cali
Vanity Fair.
Right. Well, and they quoted me, and in the quote, they added prescribed horse dewormer for. I mean, this is Friday. I couldn't believe it. So
I read some articles in Vanity Fair. Those people have absolutely no credibility.
No, well, I made the mistake of thinking I could trust them.
Right.
So anyway, so we actually sued the FDA over that tweet, and we won. Which was nice, but...
Got paid, huh?
Well, no, we didn't get any money.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
You get your credibility back.
Yeah.
But
get
paid.
I mean, unfortunately, it really didn't do much, right? I mean, we need the FDA to come out and make a statement saying, this is actually safe for humans, right? Because everybody still thinks of it as horse medicine.
Do you think they're ever going to do that?
Well, I'm going to keep pushing on it, but it's not a hard thing for them to do, and it's... scientifically valid. So.
Let me ask this. By them blocking all these other treatments, does it keep the rich people from getting rich from the vaccine? Is that why it was money motivated?
Yeah. I mean, they were expecting everybody to rush out and get it. And so in April of 2021, this is 4 months after the shots came out, Houston Methodist Hospital became the first hospital in the country to mandate the shots. And this was 5 months before Biden. And that's how I kind of got tangled up in this mess, because I had privileges there, and I just started speaking out mostly about mandates. I mean, that's what got me in trouble.
I thought that was a conservative red state.
Oh, yeah, no, I know. So I think I have a theory that healthcare is turning Texas blue. Because of, and I think mandates started in Texas quite purposefully. I think it was very deliberate. I feel like they knew that if they could get away with the mandates in Texas, they could get away with them anywhere. And
looks like it's going to backfire on them. I would think.
I don't know. There were there was a bill in Texas to ban mRNA. There was a bill in Texas to make ivermectin over the counter. Neither one of them got near. They didn't even get.
Democrats voted against him, right?
Well, yeah, but the Republicans, the Republicans in Texas,
they voted against it too.
Yeah, they didn't even come up for a vote. They didn't even get scheduled on the calendar for a hearing. So it's frustrating. And Texas, like in Houston, where I am, we have the largest medical center in the world. So it brings in people from all over, and it dilutes our conservative values. And I think it's an infiltration of our system, and our economy in Texas is really dominated by healthcare. People think oil and gas, but it's actually healthcare.
Oligarchs in healthcare.
Yeah. So
I didn't realize, like I would think, like the medical profession would be not as corrupt as it sounds it is. Well,
yeah, we are put on this higher pedestal, right?
Right.
But I think the pandemic exposed that, and I didn't realize it either. I mean, I assumed the FDA was ethical and the government was ethical, and and the pandemic really exposed all that.
You mentioned earlier that you have your own practice. You're independent. What's the major differences between a independent office and someone who's like they have to answer to pharmaceutical companies or other doctors or?
Yeah, I mean, I call myself third-party free, so I don't contract with hospitals, the government, or insurance companies. And so the only people I work for are my patients, and that's an unusual way.
That's the way it should be, right?
Yeah. I mean, granted, I don't take insurance, so that's the downside, but everything, the prices are very transparent, and you can get reimbursed by your insurance company. But there's a whole model out there called direct primary and direct specialty care medicine, where it's just, you just pay your doctor directly. And for direct primary care, I'm a specialist, but primary care doctors, it's comparable to joining a gym in terms of what you pay. So you pay like a monthly fee, and then you get much more time with your doctor and much more access. And the doctor limits how many patients they take in, so they have more time, and there's less red tape that they have to deal with. Right. So it's just a more efficient way.
And you don't have to deal with the bureaucracy. You can actually treat your patients how you see fit. These other places, they can't.
Right. So, and that served me well.
Yeah. So who came and said you can't use ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, and all these other drugs?
No one directly said that.
Right.
But when I started, so basically, I was seeing all these COVID patients. I was seeing that these shots weren't working. At first, I just saw the breakthrough cases where,
they call them breakthrough. It was just as isolated. Yeah.
So, and I started tracking them. So what I found was that the vaccinated outnumbered the unvaccinated, and that they were just as sick, if not sicker. And so I went to Methodist first. I didn't just go out on social media. I said, hey, are you seeing what I'm seeing? What's going on? I thought what's going on?
Yeah, because they were saying if you take the shot, you won't get sick. And if you do get sick, you won't get as sick as other people going to the hospital.
You will not. That we were guaranteed, right? It was
and
it
won't spread.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And so I asked them what's going on, and they just gaslit me. They said, well, we think it lowers the severity.
Right, you won't die.
Right. And but that's never been shown. There's no studies showing that, actually.
How effective do you think that vaccine was?
I think there's possibly maybe a little bit of keeping some people out of the hospital early on when it was really bad, maybe, but not worth all the complications that we've seen, especially when we had great early treatment. And even if you didn't like ivermectin, we had monoclonal antibodies, which were not controversial.
Right. So your treatments were more, in your eyes, effective than the shot?
Oh yeah. Well, I kept seeing people getting sick who'd gotten a shot. So and everybody that I treated early, and it was very important to treat early. So within that first week, everybody stayed out of the hospital and survived. And even I had patients come in the second week, and second week is when everything really hit the fan, because you'd have this massive inflammatory response. And so that's when people really got sick and started going to the hospital. But
it's like that third week, right?
Yeah, second and third week, they call it the cytokine storm. But I figured out how to manage that. And so I had some really sick people who would not go to the hospital, who normally I would have just called the ambulance.
Right.
You need to go to the hospital. They refused.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't want to go because they was getting quarantined from their loved ones. They didn't want to be in the hospital by themselves.
They were isolated and dying alone, which is very tragic.
That's horrible.
Tragic. And they had, basically stripped of their rights, not given informed consent, not allowed to try ivermectin. So I got in trouble over that because I had this patient in the hospital. Somebody I didn't know previously, but the wife was trying to get her husband ivermectin, and he was dying. He'd been on a ventilator for a month, and the hospital said, we're thinking hospice at this point.
When you say ventilator, how invasive is that? What is exactly?
You don't want to be on a ventilator. It's pretty bad. You put this plastic tube all the way down here.
Oh, I saw that on The Sopranos. Tony Soprano had one of those.
It's just like that. Yeah, no, it's not good. Now, granted, if you're going to die, it's not. You'd probably want to try it. But what I found. Well, so prior to the pandemic, if somebody's oxygen level dipped below a certain level, usually 90%, then you would start worrying. If you couldn't maintain above 90 on oxygen, then you ventilate them. But what I found is I'd have these patients coming in with super low oxygen levels in the low 80s, even some lower than that.
Oh, wow.
And we were able to keep them alive without putting them on a ventilator, which was unusual.
It's almost like it's counterproductive because your body becomes dependent on it.
Right. And sometimes it's necessary. I'm not saying I'm not telling Barry always refuse a ventilator, but it was interesting because COVID, they called it happy hypoxia. Like you were able to tolerate these much lower oxygen saturations than what we would typically expect in a normal situation.
Right. And you got the patient to turn around without the ventilator?
Right. I had a handful of people come to me who just would have normally gone to the hospital, and we'd bring them in every day and throw the kitchen sink at them, and we'd give them high-dose ivermectin I'd give them high-dose IV steroids. I'd give them antibiotics, high-dose vitamin C. We would send them home on breathing treatments and oxygen, and they'd come back every day. And
how many people died from COVID here in America? It was like
they say 1.2 million, but a lot of people were attributed as a COVID death because it paid, and so we don't know.
Right. So how many of those patients that died do you think that treatment would have prevented them from dying?
We estimate about 80-85% of people could have been saved.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's hundreds of thousands of people.
Oh, yeah. Probably 800,000, 900,000 people could have been saved.
But they didn't want them saved. They wanted to make the money from the vaccine. And these people were paying, the hospitals were being paid for each person that was in the hospital that died from COVID. They was getting paid for that.
They were getting extra money to put them on a ventilator, to give them remdesivir, to have them die.
So
that is nuts.
Why are the hospitals being incentivized in this way that keeps them from being objective?
Well, the hospitals are like, this is a big burden on us. We need more money. We need, this is hard on us. So that was the rationale initially. But I don't think you should be incentivizing people. It's a perverse incentive.
So we got Fortune 500 companies dictating our health in hospitals, our care, over what a doctor would prescribe, if they were independent.
Yeah. I mean, I have a friend, Dr. Molly James, who worked in the ICU, and they were very limited. If she wanted to prescribe ivermectin, she just flat out couldn't. I mean, it was just it really handcuffed doctors, and
they were threatening to take away your career, your license. That's your livelihood.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's like this drop-down menu that you could, they have these electronic medical record systems, and if the drug's not in the drop-down menu, you just can't prescribe it. You can't even
computer.
Yeah.
You know what? Right when COVID, the hell is that noise? A motorcycle? Anyway, thought it was the Lord coming. But I remember right when COVID hit, the vaccines was available, and I just bought a new car. And I was sitting with the finance guy doing the paperwork, and he told me this story of his daughter was I think she was 22, 23. And right when COVID hit, she had planned to go to Europe and travel. But because COVID hit, she couldn't go. But now it was open up again. But to go to Europe to travel, you had to take the vax. He told me 2 weeks after she got her first shot, she just dropped dead.
Oh, awful.
And
how old?
She was 22, 23.
Oh, God,
and I asked her what happened. Was it linked to the vaccine? He said, well, she got a blood clot and it went to her lung and it killed her instantly. He told me, I was like, was it the shot? And he's like, I don't have any evidence, but I wouldn't suggest you getting a shot.
Yeah. Well, a 22-year-old just doesn't, unless there's something really, an underlying issue, that's not normal. And I mean, I know a lot of parents who lost their kids from these shots. Was it blood clots or? Varying things, but basically sudden heart failure. And one dad, I talked to him. His son was a baseball player at University of Alabama. Just died on the couch. He was studying for a test and just died. But and another parent, son was just playing basketball. Dropped dead. I mean, just horrible.
Yeah, I heard stories from my wife. She was talking to a hairdresser. Her dad got the shot, and 2 days later, he had a heart attack.
We all know people, right? We all know. I either see somebody, a patient who's been injured, or I hear a story from a patient who knows, is somebody close to them has been injured every day. I mean. 4 years later, I'm still seeing. It's just in my face on a daily basis.
There was a guy up in Canada. He took the vaccine, and his legs turned into sweet potatoes, like yams.
Yeah.
And he just won a huge case. And I got a friend who worked for the military. They mandated he take the shot. He wasn't enlisted in the military, but he worked for the base. Yeah. And he took the shot, and he had the same side effects.
Let me tell you what happened to him. He's overweight, and he got the shots. And he was telling, after he got the shot that was mandated to him to work on the base, his heart started shutting down. So his legs swelled. He couldn't walk. And now they put like 4 or 5 stents in his heart. And I was thinking, well, you're overweight. Maybe it's been your diet all these years. And it's like, dude, it's right after the shot.
Right. Congestive heart failure.
Yeah. You think that shot had anything to do with that?
Well, the timing is, suspicious, right?
He was healthy before that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
he's my age.
Is he? Yeah. I mean, I don't know how his doctor. But one thing I'm seeing is that the doctors are refusing to, even entertain the possibility.
Right. That's what he told me. His doctor says the doctor won't even touch it.
Right. It's horrible.
What's the? How many people have you think from that vaccine? Do we have any numbers?
Yeah. I mean, well, if you look at worldwide, there's a scientist, Dennis Rancourt, who looked at it. And one thing everybody's looking at is all-cause mortality, because everything's gotten so muddy, right? Because we've got they're saying, well, people are dying from the virus. And then, our camp is saying, well, no, it's actually the shot. And so it gets very muddy. So sort of the bottom line is look at all-cause mortality. And it should be steady or, maybe slightly rising, but you shouldn't notice a huge increase. And the big increase doesn't come during the early part of the pandemic. It comes after the rollout of the COVID shots. And when you look at worldwide, the scientist Dennis Rancourt, he estimates 17 million excess deaths from these shots. That's worldwide.
I believe it because we all have stories,
right?
Personal stories.
We all,
and no family's immune from it.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Y'all like that last Ram we gave away? Yeah. So we got us another one. Check this Ram out. 2500 heavy duty turbo diesel Ram. R-A-M or Ram. It's got all kinds of Ram action. Yeah, I love this Ram. You can really ram something with this. What color is this? Graphite? That is white supremacist graphite right there. Got a good handle on it. See that handle? Built like a tank, but it drives like a race car. Go to officialhardswings.com. Anything you buy from the site get you automatically. It'll win. Yeah. No purchase necessary. Going where prohibited. See official rules for details. Yeah.
What exactly is a mRNA vaccine? It's something
so it's
new,
modified.
Right? Okay.
So mRNA is a natural substance in our body, but this is a modification of that, and it contains a synthetic. So you have these base pairs that from
dumb it down for us.
Yeah, I see you trying, so let me dumb it down for you.
They substitute.
I don't want my head to explode.
They substitute one part of the mRNA with a synthetic analog, a synthetic nucleoside called pseudouridine. So uridine is what's supposed to be there. It's pseudouridine, and it's difficult to break down.
Okay.
So
totally got it.
So normally, and then they put this shell around it called lipid nanoparticle. So normally, if you just injected mRNA, the body would destroy it. But the shell protects it. But the shell also allows it to escape. It was supposed to just stay in the arm, right? Well, the shell allows it to travel throughout the body, get into the brain, get into the ovaries.
We got a turtle in us.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
so like you were saying, you said it was around 17 million deaths. Have we seen a spike in like other diseases, like terminal illnesses, like cancer or?
So in cancer, so the NIH is sort of they keep all the cancer data.
Dr. Fauci?
Yeah. So, but we don't have any fresh data since 2022.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that odd?
That's crazy. That's very suspicious.
Yeah, but when you look at the finance, so there are other things you can look at, like financials. So what's being spent on cancer drugs,
right,
and that sort of thing, and those have gone up, tremendously in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I've heard the term turbo cancers.
Right.
Is there any?
What
is that?
Just rapid onset of high grade advanced cancer.
Okay.
And they are seeing it in younger people. So there's one set of data shows a 30% increase in cancer in age 18 to 54. So, but the NIH is...
That's a pretty strong correlation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's concerning. And I have a friend that works at MD Anderson. She said she's never seen anything like it, young people coming in with aggressive cancer.
Like this vaccine that typically to create a vaccine, how long does it take?
Yeah, with any drug that gets put on the market, it's typically at least a 5, if not 10-year process.
5 to 10 years.
Right.
So Trump did it in 6 months.
That's crazy.
I know, which is why I didn't get the shot, or why I was reluctant
I was meaning to ask you that. Yeah,
yeah.
I was reluctant. But I didn't think it was going to hurt people. I just didn't think it was going to work.
Trump brought Johnson & Johnson on stage during one of his rallies. You could hear a pin drop in that bitch.
That's what you call tone deaf.
Go, what the hell are you doing? The crowd was just like, man, what you doing? You got Johnson & Johnson on stage. That was the worst one.
And then shouted out the Pfizer guy too.
Then Trump would start talking how it was because of warp speed, and he came up with the idea. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, like, it's so
I
hard to
don't get that. I don't get that.
Do you think he have any responsibility in what happened?
Trump? Yes and no. I mean, I think he could definitely peg some other people and save his ego.
Right.
He's not a doctor.
Right.
He relied on some
Shit, they came
people
out in 6 months. I think Trump made this shit in his kitchen.
I remember with him
6 months.
Mar-a-Lago.
He made that shit in Mar-a-Lago.
Like, I remember he was talking, it was the three of them. It was Dr. Birx, I think her name was, and it was Fauci. And then Trump was up there having these press conferences. He said, yeah, we got to look at the squirting this shit in your veins. What was it like, I forgot what he was saying. It was like some...
UV light or something?
It was some UV light. You remember that?
Okay, yeah. So they keep... And this was, actually that same reporter that I was talking about from Vanity Fair, Catherine Ebon, a few months ago claimed that Trump was telling people to inject Clorox in their veins.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
He never did that. He
never did that. But he was like rambling.
It might have been.
And people was like, is he telling people to shoot this shit in my face?
It might have crossed his mind, but he did not actually say it.
Right. Yeah, that was
Clorox. It's like Clorox for the virus.
Yeah. Do you think the truth is gonna ever always put an F on it? Sorry, my Negro brain. Do you think the truth is ever gonna come out?
It's come out. I think it's out there. It's just people. We don't have people in authority willing to acknowledge it. That's the problem. But you look at the vast majority of people are not following CDC recommendations, right? They're not buying it.
Right.
But we just don't have anybody with big microphones, like
RFK Jr. He just pulled it from the child schedule, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's still being given to children. Really? So they said we won't give it to healthy children, whatever that means.
Why would you give it to children?
You do not need to give it to any child. You don't need to give it to any human being, but certainly not a child.
Yeah.
Like no kids died from like babies. Did any babies die from COVID?
Well, they may have tagged it as they may have labeled it as such, but I have a very hard time believing unless they were mismanaged. I mean, you could, you could help any patient overcome COVID with, maybe not everybody, but the vast majority of people with proper treatment instead of, most doctors, shut their doors and said, just go to the emergency room if you can't breathe.
That's what they told me because we was talking about the COVID before we got it. And then we got it. I was like, shit, I'm going to die.
Right.
Yeah, because all the Republicans saying it's just a bad flu. It's just a bad flu. And I was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I said, man, calm down. It's just a flu.
Right.
So I got it. I said, yep, I'm about to die.
And I remember I did a teleconference with a doctor. And I said, what can you give me? He said, I can't give you anything. Just stay quarantined in your house and just wait it through.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just wait till you die. Right.
And then I would call Kevin because he got it too. We both got it at the same time. And I would call Kevin just to make sure he was still breathing.
Yeah.
And then I called him. I said, man, I have this weird side effect. My feet are blue.
Yeah.
And I
you
told
have
him
blue toes. Yeah.
I told him, I said, I think that's stage 4. That happens right before death.
What causes blue feet?
Lack of oxygen.
Yeah,
if you like dark skin, you got pale feet. Yeah, you're done. But I have really pale feet, so
yeah, it's not a good sign actually. But I'm glad you got through it. Did they give you anything? They didn't give you.
No.
He asked for ivermectin. He said, I can't prescribe that.
He could. That's a lie.
Yeah.
He was allowed to prescribe it. He just wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just stay in my room. I remember my kidneys, my low back was hurting a lot. And I got over it in like 2 weeks. I was like, that was not the fucking flu.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was worse than the flu.
Yeah.
People say it was just a flu, but it was worse.
I think that came. I mean, I don't think that came from Mother Nature. I think it.
No, I don't either. I think it was. I think it was an attack, and I don't think it was a leak. I think it was released.
Oh, you don't think it was?
I think it's biowarfare.
Yeah, it was.
And why is that so hard to fathom? I mean, we have a whole department in our government dedicated to fighting biowarfare. I don't understand why that's so tricky to.
And the crazy thing about it, we were funding it.
Right.
Yeah, I remember when Trump said this started in China, and then the China president said, "No, you guys started all of this shit in my country." right. I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like bullshit."
Right.
Yeah, but it turns out it was all true. Yeah. It was us.
Yeah.
That is wild to think about.
Maybe working with the Chinese, maybe, But I think I don't think it was a leak.
Yeah, we always say China is bad. They communist. But why do we got a lab there that we're funding for a novel virus?
Yeah. It makes no sense.
No, makes absolutely no sense.
Do you think Dr. Fauci has any blood on his hands about how things were handled during
Give me
COVID?
some water. I'm gagging over here. I think it's COVID coming back.
It is coming back, by the way. If you read the headlines,
I've seen that.
Yes, it's,
how true is it though? I don't think.
Well, they cried wolf with bird flu. Remember, they tried to get everybody riled up right before the election about bird flu. So I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Fauci, of course, deserves.
He should be in
He
prison.
does not deserve a pardon.
Yeah. Yeah, he got a pardon, right?
Why would Dr. Fauci need a pardon?
Right. He wasn't charged with anything, right? So why would what was the?
I don't even think his pardon is legit. It was a damn auto pen.
Yeah, that's true.
You gonna make it?
I think so.
Give some ivermectin.
You got some ivermectin?
I actually, women, we have so much in our purse, and I'm like, oh, there's some ivermectin. I saw
Forgot it was in there.
Yeah.
So you think 17 million people died from it, and it's a spike in cancer across the globe?
It's definitely, it's concerning. And the thing that worries me too is I test people's antibody levels to spike protein.
Oh, after you get it?
And because I'll have patients coming in with issues, long-term chronic debilitating health problems following these shots, and we don't have a great test for them other than the spike protein antibody test. And when you look at people that did not get the shots, the level is typically under 1,000. When you get at people that have gotten these shots, they're 10 times that. And this is 4 years later.
Wow.
Yeah, it does not make sense because typically the antibody levels will just drop down over time, right? Especially 4 years later, you're not getting any more shots, you're not getting sick. But the test goes up to 25,000, and I have a lot of patients that exceed the upper limit of the test.
25 times?
25,000. So that is concerning.
That's nuts. Like I forgot to tell you, like my sister-in-law, she was working as she wasn't a nurse. She had this job. It was through the county, but she was seeing her aunt who's has dementia and Alzheimer's, so she was getting paid through the county to help her own aunt, right? And when the COVID shots came out, they told her for you to continue working with your aunt, you have to get this shot. So she gets the shot, but then she developed some heart issues. And they said she had
myocarditis.
She had inflammation of the heart. That's what they told her.
Yeah, no, that's very common. And the thing I really worry about with these kids is you don't know if you have myocarditis.
Right.
If you don't have chest pain. So you could have silent myocarditis. If you have a baby that's not talking, you have no idea if they've had myocarditis, and it can leave a permanent scar on the heart. And then you are at a lifelong increased risk of sudden death after myocarditis. And so how many of these kids are potentially have gotten myocarditis after these shots?
Grow up, go to high school, participate in sporting events and stuff like that.
I've seen a lot of professional athletes. It was never noticeable to me, but you would see people on the soccer fields just dropping dead.
And those numbers are scary. Prior to these shots. They looked at, how many per year, because it was happening prior to COVID and prior to the shots. And I can't remember the exact year, but it was like 29 in 1 year, and then it jumped up to 290 after these shots in a year.
That's just a correlation.
right.
Yeah, correlation.
You're a conspiracy theorist.
right.
The football player, what was his name?
Well, how about LeBron James' son? His 18-year-old son. And
it's not a big deal.
Bodies.
that's like heart related when people pass out like that. Oh yeah, I've seen enough of that.
Yeah,
But it's horrible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
LeBron,
that famous football player, he dropped and he almost died right there on the field. I'm sure you was aware of that case, but
in Buffalo?
yeah,
Is that
the
DeMar Hamlin? Or-
DeMar Hamlin. Yeah. So he had a press conference and he asked him about what was the cause of it. There was this long pause and he says, I don't want to discuss that.
Yeah. of
Like,
course.
Why wouldn't
Say
you want
something.
to discuss that?
Yeah. Well,
It's
we don't want to promote vaccine hesitancy.
yeah.
Right.
I'm just shocked at how many people in society are like cowards. They can't really stand up and speak truth.
Yeah. Or speak
mean-
up against something that they don't believe in. general, yeah.
But the backlash was vicious. I mean, they went after me really hard.
Yeah.
They're trying to they're still after me, the medical board.
They still after
Still.
Was he
Yes.
after your license?
Yeah. So I was talking earlier about that patient in the ICU.
Mm-hmm.
Wife was trying to get him ivermectin. She sued the hospital because they refused to let him try ivermectin. And then
Wow.
she asked me to help her. So I became, they can't make a doctor write a prescription for a drug, but they could make the hospital give another doctor willing to do it, make them give privileges. So
Okay.
that's what they sued, is to let me get privileges so I could write the prescription for the ivermectin. And we won the case. And
That's crazy. You have to sue for that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's horrible. Won the case. The hospital the hospital basically refused to obey the court order. And they made me go through all this rigmarole. I had to submit surgical case logs and get letters of recommendation. And normally, like during the pandemic, if you applied for emergency privileges, it was a same day process because they were so tight on doctors. They needed people. But in this situation, they tried to make it as difficult as possible. And then basically they said, well, we're not going to give you privileges, even though we have a court order. Yeah. So there was all this back and forth. They had to go back to the judge. And then I finally get the green light. And the lawyer's like, yes, you can go. You can send it. And I sent a nurse because this patient was actually in Dallas and I was in Houston. Nurse shows up and the police are there and she's not allowed in the ICU. She leaves. They got a stay on the order, so they appealed immediately, and our lawyers didn't know about the stay. So, legitimately, she was not allowed to go in there, but she didn't cause a scene, but they're saying that, I sent a nurse to the hospital without having privileges, and it was dangerous to other patients for her to do that. And that's what they're going after me for in the medical
has
board.
that
That's
been
been
proven?
3.5 years.
You wasn't even there.
I wasn't
And you
there,
followed a court
and
order.
I was following a court order, and there was a misunderstanding because we didn't know about the stay. But our intentions were good, and so 3.5 years later, because I fought it. I could have just paid a big fine, but I decided to fight it. It's still going on.
So you fighting it now? They want to take your license.
Well, I don't know if they'll take the license, but they're making.
They want to come out on top.
They're trying to, they'll
Save face, in other words.
yeah.
Or I could only see them doing that to justifying and, censor you if, say, you prescribe something that people are dying from. But to my knowledge, nobody's died from ivermectin, right?
It's super safe. It should be over the counter. And before I started using it, I really dug into the safety because I knew it was so controversial. Like if I hurt anybody with it, it would be a big deal. And if you look, like I did a literature search trying to find overdose, accidental or intentional, or people tried to commit suicide. I couldn't find a single study. And then you go to the FDA's website and you can find toxicity data, and you can see that it is not. It's you'd have to give enormous amounts of the medication to hurt somebody. So, yeah.
I mean, we have over-the-counter medication right now, like Tylenol is very toxic.
Tylenol is definitely more dangerous than ivermectin.
So, like, Tylenol should be banned.
I think we should ban Tylenol, yes.
How many people die a year from Tylenol?
Yeah, no, it's a myth. Like, if you go, I don't know exact number, but if you do a literature search for accidental, intentional overdose from Tylenol, you'll find thousands of studies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the government might be having to pay reparations to people because Joe Biden came out and mandated that on all federal and city employees. Look like they're going to be owing reparations to people that were injured.
I hope so. There's a big lawsuit. It's been a battle. So Brooke Jackson was a whistleblower with Pfizer. She worked for the research company that was overseeing the trials, and she saw these issues going on, like quality control issues. And so she came forward. She reported these issues to the FDA. She was a whistleblower, and then she immediately got fired. So she has been suing them, trying to get this exposed. But the government has come in, swooped in, and trying to save Pfizer. So the DOJ is saying,
the government,
yes,
that's both sides,
and this
right?
is Pam Bondi government.
Yeah,
so
both
it
sides,
started with
right?
Biden's government.
Yeah,
Merrick Garland was the old, and now the Pam Bondi DOJ is saying no, you can't sue Pfizer because it goes against public health policies. Yeah, it's
crazy.
not good.
Yeah.
But
So
this
much
case,
for Republicans.
this case could bankrupt Pfizer. It's an important case. It needs to go forward at least. At least let it just go through the court system.
Yeah. So when you was trying to prescribe this medication, it's like becoming a doctor is no simple feat, right? How long does it take to become a doctor?
Yeah, it's 4 years of college and 4 years in medical school, and then you do, depends on what you go into, 3 to 5 years of what we call residency. So
okay.
You working for a doctor?
You work like in a big team of doctors, and you basically get trained, because medical school is basically a lot of books more than anything.
Right, no hands-on. So it's like 12 to 15 years goes into that, huh? Become a doctor?
For me, it was 13 years.
13 years? Yeah. So you jumped through all those hoops, and then there's this bureaucracy keeping you from doing your job.
Right. And I thought, I'm pretty independent, so I thought becoming a doctor would allow me to kind of be my own boss.
Right.
You would think, yeah.
You would think.
Yeah.
But wow, only these medical companies tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And they don't have degrees in medicine.
Yeah. And the new thing now is the pharmacists have these powers, because the pharmacists were blocking my ivermectin prescriptions, and I got sick.
Pharmacists?
Yes, and I was like, well, who's going to take care of this patient when they go downhill? Should I send them to you, Walgreens pharmacist?
So
I'm sending them to Walgreens.
That's crazy. So a person who went to school for 6 months got a certificate telling you what to do?
Well, the pharmacists, they train longer than 6 months. I'll say that.
But 6 months, ain't it?
What, an extra 6 months?
But they don't have any accountability for the patient. They're not
Right.
They're not listening to the patient's lungs and all that. So
that is nuts. That is crazy. Like I was never scared to go to the hospital.
yeah,
And now,
it's a safe place. That's where you go to they save your life.
my little boy broke his arm, so they said we got to put him under. And I was worried. I said, what if he doesn't wake up? And I was like, it took them for like 2 hours talking to me before they convinced me to do it.
Well, they're going to be
It's terrifying.
Yeah, because they had to replace his forearm back in the spot. Yeah. Because they said, you're going to hit some cracking, it's going to be painful. He said, it'd be better if he's under. He's under,
Yeah, and it's sad that we're all scared to go to the hospital now.
Right. Yeah,
that's sad.
I'm terrified of vaccines and doctors.
Yeah.
All because of COVID.
And then if the government doesn't do anything, the trust is gone. We have to restore trust, which is why it's so important that we keep on this.
Yeah, somebody needs to be, accountability, that's all I want. Transparency. If there's none of that, then it's like, how do you regain that trust, if at all?
But knowing all this information, all these spikes in cancer and sudden death and they're still giving this vaccine to kids.
Yeah, it's awful. And
Republicans are not doing anything about it.
Well, and I do have an effort going on with. It turns out they're all Republicans, although it's not. But I'm trying to recruit politicians to just state that the COVID shot should be pulled off the market. And so I've got 252 elected officials, only 3 from Congress, but a lot of state representatives and state senators.
So nobody that's elected in Congress wants to put their name?
Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, I know she's crazy.
Okay,
I know she's crazy.
I know.
Margie don't give a damn.
Yeah, I know. I love her. Do you know who the other 2 are? Just guess. Yes, Thomas Massey. And then who do you think the third one is? A senator.
Senator? I would say Ted Cruz.
No.
Really? He said, hell no. Well, I know it's not Lindsey Graham. Who's the?
Ron Johnson. Ron Johnson.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. They all should be saying it.
And they're not getting these shots anymore, right?
Yeah.
They're not getting them. They're not following CDC recommendations. They're not giving them to their children because they have safety concerns.
Yeah. Are people still dying from COVID here in the country?
No. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw a COVID patient. First of all, even saw a COVID patient. Second of all, worried about my COVID patient. Like I did used to worry. I used to give my cell phone out to everybody because I was worried. I don't worry anymore.
Yeah, I got COVID 4 times.
I got COVID a lot too.
Yeah. I got it 4 times. Yeah. Second time my feet didn't go blue. It just gets milder and milder. Yeah. Well, what I don't understand is like when you got the vaccine, they said you got to get a booster. What was that all about?
Yeah, every 6 months.
Yeah, it's like
right? We've never seen anything like it, right?
Yeah,
not even a flu shot. Yeah.
Well, you got to get your booster. You got your booster. I was like, this is like, man. And then they was forcing the vaccine and the booster on people who already had COVID.
Oh, right. No, yeah. Right after you recover, then you need an extra dose of spike protein. Yeah, you need extra spike protein in your body.
Yeah, I was pissed at my sister when she got it. I said, but you already got COVID. Well, I just want to be safe. I'm like, fuck! Because I didn't think she would. No.
Is she okay though?
No, she's fine.
She's fine.
Yeah.
She's fine. Knock on wood. It's been a few years.
Like
now.
I didn't get the vaccine. I had COVID, and we donate blood regularly, right? And they said you still have the antibodies for COVID.
Yeah.
Like 3 years after the fact. I was like, why were they pushing it?
Yeah.
That vaccine on people.
Yeah.
After they had it.
Money. Well, Bill Gates, he said something that I thought was bizarre.
I asked the top scientists on this several times, do we really have to get down to near zero? Can't we just, cut it in half or a quarter? And the answer is that until we get near to zero, the temperature will continue to rise. And so that's a big challenge. It's very different than saying, we're a 12-foot high truck trying to get under a 10-foot bridge and we can just sort of squeeze under. This is something that has to get to zero. Now, we put out a lot of carbon dioxide every year, over 26 billion tons. For each American, it's about 20 tons. For people in poor countries, it's less than 1 ton. It's an average about 5 tons for everyone on the planet. And somehow we have to make changes that will bring that down to zero. It's been constantly going up. It's only various economic changes that have even flattened it at all. So we have to go from rapidly rising to falling and falling all the way to zero. This equation has 4 factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. That's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah, why would he say that with
You gonna give people a vaccine so they can die?
That's what it sounds like.
The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
That is crazy.
I don't know if he lost his train of thought.
Yeah, but that sounds diabolical what he just said.
And just to say it in front of a group of people?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's almost like this is like a secret meeting with rich people and important people talking about how they're going to exterminate the earth.
This is a TED Talk, too.
It's a TED Talk, huh?
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with what does vaccines have to do with population reduction, Dr. Bowden?
I think we just saw that, huh?
Yeah, I thought they were supposed to save us all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's funny how they changed the definition of what a vaccine is.
Right?
Yeah.
That new definition made it seem like a condom is a vaccine. You know, it wasn't no longer a vaccine.
Immune response
Yeah.
versus prevention.
Vitamins is a vaccine.
Anything that provokes an immune response is a vaccine.
We just started selling Methylene Blue, which is way better than energy drinks without the jitters or the crash or the anxiety that it gives you.
Yeah, they also has some anti-cancer properties in that.
Yes, it's a damn good Methylene Blue right there. Head over to officialhorsetwins.com.
Hey, I want to ask you about Methylene Blue. We was watching, I think it was Joe Rogan, and it was with Mel Gibson. And if I remember correctly, I don't know if you seen the episode, but someone had stage 4 cancer.
Had friends. Stage 4 cancer. Yeah.
And they started taking Methylene Blue and it wiped out their cancer. Is there any truth to that?
Was it just methylene blue? I have a hard time believing that it was just.
They mentioned methylene blue, but that was the focus. Do you have that, Joe?
They took what you've heard they've taken.
Ivermectin.
Okay.
Fenbendazole.
Yeah.
That's
I'm hearing that a lot.
They drank hydrochloride something or other.
There's studies on that now where people have proven that
people drinking methylene blue and stuff.
Yeah, methylene blue, which was a fabric dye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a textile dye. And now they find out it has profound effects on your mitochondria.
Yep.
Yeah.
This stuff works, man.
Mel Gibson.
Hey, he says it, I'm on board.
Yeah, Mel says it. I'm taking it. Dr. Mel Gibson.
Right.
Yeah, you think there's any truth to that?
Well, yeah. I've had some cancer patients show up wanting a Hail Mary with ivermectin and fenbendazole. I haven't seen miracles yet, and I don't. So I don't have a big population of cancer patients to base a good opinion on, but I have heard from doctors I trust that they have seen some good results. I don't know yet. I don't see any harm in trying.
Right. Yeah. Because chemo, it just kills every cell. You're just hoping it kills the right cells, but it ends up killing all your cells, really. And how about the methylene blue? I was doing some research on it. It's actually a dye synthetic drug. It actually strengthens the cells. That's been clinically proven.
I use it for patients that are really low in energy. I try that, and I would say it's not 100%, but it tends to help.
My energy is kind of low. We just turned we're 50. I'm gonna be 51 this year, right? So I know it's my energy's better
when you take it.
Yeah, I've been taking it for actually a couple of weeks, and this is kind of gross. I'm gonna tell you, not really gross.
Why you gotta go there?
No, it was gross to me.
If it's gross to you, it's gonna be gross to her.
You've probably seen a lot of crazy shit as a doctor. Well, I had this. What hand was it? It was this finger right here. Yeah, it was this one. Gee, it's gone. Okay, so it would fill up with this clear, slimy liquid, and I would pop it. I thought it was like a wart. And I would pop it, it would go away. About a week later, it would fill back up with whatever that was. And it was going on for a year. I started taking methylene blue. I popped it. It just dried up and went away.
That's awesome. Well, it does. I mean, there's a anti-infective component to it. So maybe you had some sort of infection.
That was an infection?
I don't know. That's my best explanation based on what you're telling me, but I don't know.
It was really weird, and it's gone.
Does it have any effect on cysts in the body?
On cysts?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're asking some dumb questions right now.
Let me show you my story.
Okay.
You see this wrist? There's nothing there, right?
Wrist.
Not
risk.
I said wrist. With a T, wrist. Right. This one has a little bump in it, and it was very prominent about 3 weeks ago. I started taking Methylene Blue, and it started to go down. Like when I used to do this, it looked like it was protruding.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to go to the doctor.
Do you have a picture, a before and after? We could
I
do
think
a
I
case
have somewhere
report
on my phone.
Yeah.
On my phone, but it was like very big, and it was painful.
How much Methylene Blue are you taking?
About 10 to 15 drops a day.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it has anything to do with it. It's just something I noticed.
I know it got rid of that little whatever I had going, that infection. It was gross. Now my finger, it was never there.
Yeah. When it says it increased the strength of the mitochondria, what makes the cell stronger, it sends oxygen to the cell.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, I haven't looked at it in a long time.
Oh, really? Okay.
Give you the exact mechanism of action, but it helps the mitochondria, which is your energy source in the cell.
What do you think of RFK and MAHA? What he's doing?
Yeah, frustrating. Very frustrating.
Oh, okay.
Spill the beans.
Well, yeah. I mean, Kennedy was going to save us all, right? He was the answer, right? We were very excited.
That's what Trump did with that vaccine, and Dr. Fauci, he's going to save everybody.
Right. He was going to be the wrecking ball.
Right.
It's just taking a little longer than I would have expected, and things coming out like still, yes, I'm glad it is off the childhood vaccine schedule as a step, but honestly,
Real quick, somebody's mic got unplugged.
What's that all about?
Can I take? Is it okay if I take?
Yeah,
this
you can
off?
take them. Yeah. Just when you want to hear something. Yeah.
Yeah. So his the speed and I'm glad they're off the schedule. But honestly, I'm facing injured patients on a daily basis. The thing needs to be taken off the market. He could do that with a stroke of the pen. And I don't understand what he has to lose. And maybe he gets fired. But, can you imagine if he took the shots off the market and then Trump fired him? I think people would completely revolt.
Because Trump still touts that vaccine. He's very proud of that vaccine.
I know. We need to talk some sense into him.
Yeah.
Rogan said he was going to talk to him.
Oh, really? You think Trump took the vaccine?
Hi, everybody. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS secretary, and I'm here today with NIH Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya and FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary. I couldn't be more pleased to announce that as of today, the COVID vaccine for healthy children and healthy pregnant women has been removed from the CDC recommended immunization schedule. Last year, the Biden administration urged healthy children to get yet another COVID shot despite the lack of any clinical data to support the repeat booster strategy in children.
That ends today. It's common sense and it's good science.
There's no evidence healthy kids need it today, and most countries
They're
have
definitely reading it.
I know.
We're now one step closer to realizing President Trump's promise to make America healthy again.
It's probably somebody with a gun on the side. You say one word, I'm blowing your ass away.
That's the tone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Looked like it was under duress.
Yeah. You know what? Like Republicans, Democrats, I'm Republican. You know what? Everybody's full of shit.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it.
Why can't you just speak the truth?
Yeah. Everything revolves around money.
Yeah.
And power.
And power.
Yeah. When they say this country's ran by oligarchs, it's true. But we don't live in a free country.
It's just Elon Musk, though.
Huh?
It's just Elon Musk, though. That's the only oligarch they're afraid of.
I know.
Worried about.
Right.
He came out today, didn't he? And got upset with everybody
about the budget.
About the budget.
Yeah. about the Trump's plan.
Yeah, they kind of
big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. He says that plan is going to defeat all the work they did with Doge. Says it's going to add to the deficit. So,
what do you think?
I think Thomas Massey needs to be our next president. He spoke out against it.
Yeah.
And he got a lot of heat for that.
So people speaking out against that bill, they're like, that's people we need in office.
That's what I think. Yeah. Thomas Massey.
You heard that, everybody? Thomas Massey. Look him up.
Yeah.
Only guy without an 8-pack handler, too.
Is that true? Wow.
Yeah, I really don't like that when a foreign nation, if they want to make that place up one of our states, then I don't have a leg to stand on. But that's still a foreign nation dictating who gets elected in our country. I think that's like horrible.
Yeah, I told Joe I would not talk about Israel and Gaza.
You don't have to. I can cut all this shit out. I don't want to get you in.
I don't need
trouble. Just say no comment.
Cut that Jew shit out. She don't want to fuck with them Jews. Yeah, we'll cut that. We won't even talk about it. There's no comment. There's no comment. Yeah. She already got the heat. Then Jews gonna really bring the heat. Yeah, I don't blame you.
Do you think there's another pandemic that's going to be cooked up?
They're trying. I just read a headline that China is on lockdown, but they tried to. Well, I just read it one. That was. It doesn't seem to be in the mainstream news from what I can tell, but they tried to scare us with bird flu right before the election. So I don't know. I think they're just upset over this new vaccine situation. And
Probably a distraction, huh?
yeah, I mean that's
A
my
little
guess.
sob. Yeah.
But I'm not worried.
You just worried about them Jews?
No, I'm not. I love the Jews. I love
everybody too, but do not piss off a Jew.
Right.
I think that's why Diddy's like that right now.
Hey, what do you think about Ozempic?
Oh, no, not a big fan.
Not a big fan?
No.
I was reading some of the side effects. One of them was exploding stomach. I was like, what the hell is that?
I mean, no. I mean, I'm a big fan of carnivore diet.
Yeah,
you tried that?
Oh, yeah. I did it for 6 months, and I lost 15% of my body weight. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah,
And
you're
eating
in great
bacon.
shape. I need to try the carnivore.
Yeah, I need to
get all this week
I need
going.
to jump on some carnivore, yeah.
But it burns fat. I mean, you go into ketosis and you burn fat, and it's super simple, and you don't have to be on the rest of your life. But
You're not counting calories neither,
No,
huh?
you don't count calories. I was snacking on bacon. I was taking bacon to lunch.
I love
to work
bacon.
and just chowing down on bacon, and you're losing weight. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. It sounds like a paradox, like eating a bunch of fat and protein, you will gain weight, but it's not. It's the carbs.
Yeah, my insulin level dropped to 0.2.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That's the key to losing weight, keeping your insulin levels
exactly. Keep the insulin down.
Well, Whoopi Goldberg, she's taking one of those drugs. She lost a lot of weight. She was like Fat Albert that way.
On Ozempic?
Yeah.
Yeah, but she lost a lot of muscle too, though. You lose a bunch of muscle,
Yeah.
and that doesn't spare the heart. You lose heart muscle too.
What?
Yeah, the
You
heart
lose
is a
heart?
muscle. What'd you say?
You lose heart muscle?
Yes,
Like this?
yes.
Wow.
I just wouldn't mess with that. I mean, there's use some self-discipline,
Right.
and
Some carnivore.
and common sense,
What's that? I just posted on our
Little
Facebook.
exercise.
right?
Yeah, I just posted, what's her name? Osborne.
Kelly Osborne?
What was her name?
Kelly Osborne?
The
Yeah.
mom, I think it's the mom, right?
Sharon?
Yeah,
Sharon.
Sharon Osborne. She was on Ozempic. I just posted about it in my article. I was having Biden brain there for a second, but she can't gain her weight back.
Oh, really? She's emaciated. And,
She looks emaciated. She cannot, and her
Her
doctors
lips.
don't know what to tell her.
Yeah.
She looked like she got duck lips too.
Yeah, well, the muscles. You lose all that muscle mass, so it doesn't
okay.
spare muscle.
What exactly is it? Is it? I heard it's lizard venom.
I don't know. I mean, maybe
That's
it
crazy.
could be.
Yeah. That's a nice
Oh,
lizard
right,
you
right,
found
the
there,
Gila,
Joe.
Yeah.
The Gila monster.
Interesting. Yeah. I just wouldn't mess with that.
You know what's crazy? There was other stuff.
Especially coming from that damn state.
There was another drug. It was called Fen-Phen. You remember that?
Yeah. It got pulled off the market.
Got put off the market. And it's like every 3 or 4 years, this
There's
is
just
new
no quick
weight loss
fix.
drug.
There's no quick fix. Common
Exactly.
sense and self-discipline.
And I was like, that stuff, I said, man, that's another Fen-Phen.
Exactly. Yeah.
So stay away from
A
it.
very expensive fen-phen too.
Yeah.
And one that you have to inject, which is even scarier.
Right. Well, another great drug brought to you from the pharmaceutical company. That's crazy.
Well, this has been great. It's been very enlightening.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you for your courage, because a lot of doctors are not saying anything.
Yeah.
Thank you for making me laugh. Most of these I don't laugh.
Yeah,
so.
Thank you for not being offended.
You actually got balls, lady. Which is really cool.
Yeah.
So hey, it's nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where can people find you?
Well, I'm pretty active on X at MD Breathe. I also have a Substack. And then if you want to help me get more politicians on board, you can go to americansforhealthfreedom.org, and there's a very simple pledge. You can send it to them and ask them to sign.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Cool. We'll put all the information in the description box of our video. Thank you.
Thank you.